Hello everyone, welcome to Homeschool Autism Life. My name is Jamie and today is another holiday video. I wanted to share about what kind of holiday ideas you can give for specifically a sunrise playroom, help your children learn and grow their language skills and their eye contact and all of those sorts of things. So just a little bit of background, my son is 13, he is autistic, and we struggled for quite a while trying to figure out how best to help him, and I'm so thankful that we landed on the Sunrise program. If you don't know what that is, I will leave a link down to my review of it so that you can get an overall view of what the point and the purpose is. And I'm so excited to say that he is learning and growing in leaps and bounds, and we're still working on a conversation component, but it's really exciting to see when he does things new that make me so excited and so happy. So at the very beginning of our sunrise journey, Darian wasn't a big sit down and play games, sit down and read stories, that sort of kid. He was very much bouncing off the walls, wanted me to bounce off the walls too, and do that sort of thing. And so that's really what I find. The first part of these videos are going to be, or these first gifts ideas, there we go, brain work. The first part of this will be gift ideas for more of that child, and then the second part will be gift ideas for where Darian is now, where he's starting to take turns, he's slowing down a little bit on the over the top goofy run into the wall kind of a kid. So the first thing that I would suggest is one of these exercise balls, or two. We have two. We found them very helpful, We found them very helpful for a bunch of different reasons. Mainly, the big reason was that he loved when we bounced with him. And it was a way to stretch his language, to ask the question, Mommy, may I have a bounce, please? Or can we bounce fast or slow? Or Mommy would sometimes forget completely how I usually play bounce. And so he would have to tell me, no, sit here. And then I get here and then bounce up and down. And, sometimes I would be silly and I would roll off the ball and that would get him laughing and playing. So they're very versatile. Later on, we started playing with pretending that they were rocks or icebergs. There we go, brain. Icebergs in which I could run around the ball instead of playing with it in the traditional bounce sort of way. We also, and this is a thing that he plays more now too, is we bounce it to each other across the room. And I'll stop the ball and I'll ask him a question and then ask him to ask me a question. And sometimes, he needs a little bit of prompting or whatever, but in order to get the ball back, he has to have a conversation and converse. And I get so excited because he's looking and he's paying attention and he's so excited to spend that time. So that one's a really, really, really big one that I think the money we spent on those was worth every last penny. And they've lasted. We've been doing Playroom Fun for 4 or 5 years and they are still good to go. So let me get the next thing. All right, the next one, if you have a bouncy kid, would be one of these exercise trampolines that you have indoors. Now you can see mine has lots and lots of wear and tear because my son played with them like crazy. He bounced, we would play tag. There's so many things that we did with this one. And sometimes they want you to hold your hands. So again, that can be brought into bear for language learning and stuff like that. So it's really, really cool to be able to use things and get them to use up their energy and stuff like that. It's really awesome. I'll get the next thing. Another great and kind of cheap item would be to get bubbles. And we have been using these for, again, several years, but it's been awesome, again, to talk about how big the bubbles are, how little the bubbles are. Do we want to blow them outside because he won't let the screen stay in his room? Do you want them on your bed, on your tummy, on your feet? Where do you want the bubbles? And it's been, do you want to get them to the ceiling? There are so many versatile options to help our kids learn to talk and to tell us what they want. And they love it. My son loved to catch the bubbles with his tongue, which you're like, all right then. But he did. The only thing I would suggest when using these is to have like a little hand towel readily available so that you're not getting your clothes or the furniture or whatever covered in bubble solution. But otherwise, I love this one. Now we're using it more for directions. Which direction do you want to go? Right, left, or north or south? Or like there's so many different ways to make this one work. All right, the next one is, I would say, any sort of puppet type things. These ones are very soft. They feel weird in your skin and you can get really hot sometimes. But if you look at this one, like he has no white teeth left and his eyes are. But for Darian, this was a really big, huge language extender. There we go. Because he could, I could have him sing the dun 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 dun, and it always dissolved into giggles. He loved doing it, and they're not super expensive. I think Amazon has them, and I think this one came from one of the bookstores. But Darian loves like grabbing their tongue, and you can go, ah! And you can have them knock on the door or on the bed or wherever you are to have them come and enter into the play space. But because they're mouthy things, the tickly games and stuff like that are huge with these guys. And they're just really a lot of fun for kids. On occasion, Darian has actually taken it himself, put it on his hand, and had him get me. So it's really fun. I think we did Frankie, and I don't know if we've named this fella yet, but it's really fun to get our kids excited and silly about certain things. The next thing on the list is this parachute. I got this from Amazon, and it's a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons. If you have yourself and maybe a volunteer or a sibling, you can actually play with it in the way it was originally intended, where you throw it up and then somebody runs under, or whatever the different games originally are for. I found this really good for teaching like color, like noting color, but also just doing matching. So you get some of their favorite toys and go, oh, what color is that? And having them place it on the color. There was lots of different ways to make this one work, and I really enjoyed it. And I think my son really did. He doesn't ask for it very much, but I think once I pull it out, he's pretty pumped and excited about that. So now for like older age, I would suggest that you pick games that are teaching the skill of taking turns. And that one can be tricky and interesting sometimes. But one of the big ones is picking simple games. I made this one out of just a printer and some cardboard that I had lying around, but I know that there are lots of different X's and O's where you actually are able to put them in the space that's designed. This is all put with magnets and stuff. Main reason why is because my son still does like to do jumpy, moving around sort of things. And so this helps it stay in its spot so that you don't have to start the game all over. But it's really easy to start asking the question, okay, do you want to be X's or O's? Darian always picks the O's, but I always ask the question because it's teaching him how to ask questions, and then his response being really important to get what he wants. And then we take turns. So I'll say, okay, is it my turn or is it your turn? And he always has an answer. It's always right. And then for games like this, again, my son isn't a huge games person. And so having to teach him, okay, so oftentimes it'll be like this. Sometimes you have to play that, oh, I wonder how I could win. But for Darian, I'll be like, watch, look careful, and go, 1, 2, is mommy gonna win? And I'll hide it with my hand, and then he'll be like, aha, and then I'll go, oh, look, Darian, you won, 1, 2, 3. And so it's about, teaching them the idea of the game, and that might take a little bit of time and a little bit of, this isn't about me winning against my son all the time. This is about teaching him the skill of playing a game with someone else, but also, strategy and stuff like that, and doing it over a period of time. He actually asks for this game. He knows we're going to play 3 games so that, there's a tiebreaker. And it's something that I've really, really enjoyed because it's a thing of growth that I've never seen him do. And so I'm pretty excited about that one. So let me pause you again for a sec. All right, so another game that, or another toy that I found really interesting to teach Darian about emotions was this, there's a pair of them, Hulk hands. Now, that might seem really, really weird that I would say that this has helped teach my son emotions, or the names of them, because clearly he has emotions, but the great thing about doing a playroom setting is that the playroom is safe and it's enjoyable, and he is in charge. He is allowed to be in charge. He is the one making all of the decisions, all of the choices for us, because this is his controlling space. Out there, not so much, but in here, absolutely. So with this, I can teach him about anger. And sometimes it's silly, like he'll throw one of the big balls at me, and I'm like, oh no, Hulk is getting angry, and I'll put on the hands, and I'm like, wah, and it's silly and it's goofy. And then there's the conversation of, oh no, I hit something, or I pushed something, or oh, should I do that in my anger? Well, probably not. And so then the gloves come off and I'm all calm again because I breathed. I did my breathing exercises. And I found that, sorry, my children are really loud. I found as he's gotten into his teens, he's 13 now, that controlling some of those emotions are getting to be something that I need to talk to him more and more about, and teaching him that exercise of, okay, Hulk got mad and he had to breathe and calm down has helped, because he does that on his own now. So it's been really cool. And I mean, he may or may not, your child may or may not react. My son didn't react when we first got these. He was like, oh, weird green things. But once we were in the playroom and were able to teach him that in a silly, goofy way, he was all for it. Another game that I think is kind of fun that my son still isn't really into yet, but I think is kind of fun for an exercise perspective, moving your body, getting your body, gross motor skills, that's the one I'm thinking of. But Twister is one of those games where you do have to take turns and you do have to play a traditional game, but it's with big bright colors and it's really straightforward and it's something you can teach over a long period of time. But this one I think is really fun for those reasons. This one, this book is not really something that I would say is age level appropriate for my son, but I wanted to mention it because each of our children with autism usually have specific narrow interests, and sometimes it's hard to, especially each Christmas, find on birthdays, find new things when their interests are still exactly the same and we've exhausted the stores for those things. This one, Darian, one of the things that he loves to eat every single day is spaghetti. And so if you type in books about spaghetti or, you know, something that they love, books about candy, books about whatever, I have found it really, really interesting how this one is really good for helping him learn to read out loud. So one of the big things I find really important for our special needs kids is saying in book form, we go over this every single time we go into the playroom. He asks for it because it's about his special interest and because he's practicing saying all of those words, the thes, the as, the words that don't actually have a picture to go with it, is actually teaching him how to say those words and have complete sentences. So I'm really excited about that. The last thing is not really a present for your child necessarily, but it's more of a present for you, because if you have a printer and if you have a laminator, then the world of games that you can make for your child doubles or triples or quadruples 100-fold. Because no matter what your children's change of interest or whatever, it can change sometimes at the drop of a hat. I don't like that game, so you take the same interest and you turn it into something else. I will leave a link down to the Sunrise Christmas game that my son had inspired over the last couple months as he was looking forward to Christmas. And so then I was able to take that interest and turn it into a game that he would love to play, and he does love to play it. So that's a big thing. It's $30-$40 for a laminator plus the sheets, but I look at it and go, it's an investment in time, because you can build anything, spaghetti, what does he like, and find the little bits of spaghetti all over his room, and then you can be like, oh, I see one to the left, or I see one to the right, or I'm just trying to come up with all of these things. But bubbles, same deal. Can you find all the bubbles? There's 30 bubbles in your room, and you can print that off. There's pictures on Google. You can print bubbles and then just laminate them and then put them all over your kids' playroom, and you have yet another game. So, it's like I said, it's not necessarily a Christmas present for your kids, but it might be a Christmas present for you, because it expands the choice and the chance of you finding something that's just right for your child. That, if you're working on numbers, it's really simple to go, okay, what are the things that my child loves? And let's have it be a scavenger hunt. And it's the most exciting and awesome thing we're going to do today. So I hope that this gives you all some ideas of things that you can buy your children for Christmas, other than candy or whatever. My son is total candy fiend. But I'm really excited to see how he navigates some of these newer games like the Twister game and stuff like that, and see just how much he grows. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it helped. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.